All right, take two. My dog decided to, come on in the closet and sniff around here on my first take. So we're going round two here now. Hopefully, no more disturbances. We'll be happy. I thank you. Welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. My words are all sorts of jumbled up right now. Jesus, the coffee is just coming back up in a big way right now. But then, sorry about the squeaking there. I'm all sorts of mess at this moment. I had such a hot start with the previous iteration of this attempt to start recording, and then old Riley the dog decided to come on in here and throw off my focus, if you will. But yeah, thanks. Welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. I don't know why I'm continuing to thank you over and over again, but thank you, I guess. You keep up the pattern of thank yous, I suppose. But yeah, today we've got an NFL episode for you. Also got a couple headlines. I mean, a very limited amount of stuff has happened since the last time I recorded an episode. Oh, just a little over 24 hours ago when I started my last recording. There was a few things that happened though, so we'll get to a couple of those things for our headlines in the college ranks, and then we'll just go down the slate from week 17, get you ready for week 18 in the NFL. So yeah, without any further ado, let's just pop right into this bad boy, starting off with the headlines. And I said on yesterday's episode, the quarterback situation in the transfer portal kind of getting settled up. It's basically like Malachi Nelson is out there, and that's pretty much it. Well, now we have got a new wrinkle added. Liberty quarterback Caden Salter. He has also entered the transfer portal. Salter put up some really good numbers this past year at Liberty. Again, strength of schedule, all of that. Still, really solid player entering the portal. His former head coach Hugh Freeze is at Auburn. That is probably the place you're going to want to just, keep an eye on there. Auburn still looking for an answer at the quarterback position. I don't think Freeze wants to roll in the next season with Peyton Thorne there, or really anyone they've got on the roster as their starting quarterback. So Caden Salter, the guy that recruited him to Liberty, is now the guy over at Auburn. So just something to keep in mind there. That's probably the destination you wanna watch as far as where Caden Salter is gonna land. But I think he's pretty. I mean, I don't know if technically he's graded as the top quarterback in the portal right now. I think Malachi Nelson, just based on that high school recruiting, is ahead of him. A hell of a lot more starting experience than Malachi Nelson, though. I would expect there's going to be a hot market for Caden Salter, and again, watch Auburn. I think that's the one we got to watch out for as far as a destination, a landing spot for Caden Salter in the portal. My goodness, I'm just getting gas left and right. Sorry, my bowels are revolting on me in a way that doesn't involve me shitting my pants. So yeah, that was good. That was good. We're off to a hot start to this episode. Just a couple more headlines here, and then we will hop into the NFL slate from week 17. As expected, talked about it on the last episode. I'm fairly certain. Brian Kelly has announced that LSU will be overhauling the defensive staff next year. Parted ways with the defensive coordinator Matt House and several of those assistants. And yeah, like we talked about at various points in the season, LSU's defense was entirely too bad for the level of talent that they bring into that program. This was always going to be what ended up happening at the end of the season. It's simply a competitive imperative, especially with adding Texas and Oklahoma into the mix. Basically, the entire SEC is just a gauntlet from hell next year as far as the schedules are concerned. You have got to get someone in there that's going to maximize the talent that is on the field. Again, it is a competitive imperative. I am very interested to see who Brian Kelly brings in as the next defensive coordinator, how he fills out that next defensive staff. You've still got Harold Perkins on a team. You are still absolutely star-studded with really high-level talent on that defensive side of the ball. Garrett Nussmeier looked really good in the bowl game against Wisconsin. You got him for another year as well. You gotta feel good if you're an LSU fan. It's just a matter of who do they bring in and replace Matt House there. But this is a step in the right direction. This is something that they absolutely had to do. That will be something to watch as we head into the spring ball. We got a signing day coming up here too, which, by the way, speaking of that, final headline before we head into the NFL slate. Braylon Burnside, Stonka Burnside, the guy that I believe I mentioned a couple weeks ago, well, I guess probably a month ago at this point. It was back before Christmas, after the regular season, though, obviously. Mississippi State had a big recruiting weekend, had a bunch of guys in there, had a picture with, a bunch of guys that ended up committing. One of those guys was Braylon Burnside, who had not been decided, but closed his recruitment shortly after that recruiting visit in early December. Figured it might be heading this way, but he made it official today as I'm recording this on Wednesday. Officially committed to Mississippi State. That is the third four-star receiver in this class for Jeff Lebby. Coach Bump, Chad Bumpus, former great wide receiver at Mississippi State, had a hell of a class. He's got a hell of a class going right now between... you got J.J. Harrell already committed. He was on the vanguard of commits. Committed back in the old regime, too, with... Goodness gracious, Zach Arnett. I don't know how that name slipped my mind. He's been with Mississippi State for entirely too long for me to forget his name so suddenly. But yeah, J.J. Harrell has been here since the very beginning. Rock solid. Love to have him in the program. Seems to really be all about making Mississippi State great, which you love to see. Braylon Burnside, another four-star receiver. Mario Craver, four-star receiver. San Francisco McGee, three-star, flipped him from Ole Miss. Talented guy. And Ricky Johnson, another three-star, kind of an underrated sort of guy, under-the-radar guy that you love to bring those types of guys in. Also got UTEP's 1,000-yard wide receiver from last season. Wide receiver Kelly, and I forgive me for butchering this name, but Kelly Akariei. Nailed it. He was 1,000-yard wide receiver at UTEP last season, like I said. And we still got more transfer portal stuff going on as we speak. We got, I think Kevin Coleman is the wide receiver, former top 75 recruit in the 2022 high school recruiting class. Kind of a free agent sort of guy. One of those new era transfer portal players, which I don't know. We're going to wait and see on that one. I would prefer not to have a guy that's looking for his third school in 3 years, but we'll see. Former talented guy, a lot of raw talent there. Maybe Jeff Lebby can make good use of him in his offense. He'd be coming over from Louisville. That's far from official, though. He's taking a visit this weekend, I believe, and we still got some stuff happening right now. We got a running back that's, athlete, I suppose, running back basically, just because they can't figure out what position he's going to end up playing as far as the 24/7 sports ranking goes. But Daniel Hill out of Meridian, Mississippi, a big-time running back, one of the best running backs in the entire state of Mississippi, one of the best running backs in the country, quite frankly. I believe he's a top 150 recruit. He is most likely to go to Alabama. He's going to be announcing his commit on Saturday. He was part of that big-time visit back in early December, though, with a bunch of guys where you look at that picture that they took afterwards, the only guy that did not commit at the end of that would have been Daniel Hill. So, just saying, there's a pattern that has been followed. It feels like maybe Mississippi State's going to shock some people and bring that guy in as well. That would be a great addition to the running back room at a high school recruiting class. All in all, you treaded water and you did a good job in the first year of recruiting if you're Jeff Lebby. Love to see that. Just love to keep it on going. Provide us some hope this year. As long as we are a fun team with some good young players, I'll be happy. I'll be happy, to say the least. So, yeah. Stay tuned, I suppose. Stay tuned. Your number, I don't know, at least top 700 source of Mississippi State information. I'm here to report. I'm here to report as always. I got no inside knowledge. I basically just turn on Twitter notifications for Mississippi State beat reporters, but there you go. There you have it. I'm certainly in the top 1,000. We'll say top 1,000 people following Mississippi State at this point. That's unverifiable, so I'm just gonna say it's true. Either way, that'll do it for the college football headlines. Let's hop into the NFL, shall we? Week 17. We're just gonna go down a list of games because I was entirely too lazy to go through and write out some key takeaways from last week. There's just a lot of stuff going on, man. There's a lot of work, and I get home from work and I just want to sit in my chair in my room and stare at a wall for a while and contemplate life decisions. I mean, there's just a lot going on in my life when it's all said and done. So yeah, let's get to it. Starting off with Thursday night football. Browns clinch a playoff spot with a 37-20 win over the Jets. Joe Flacco kind of had a hilarious stat line. He had like 290 passing yards in the first half, and then had like less than 20 passing yards in the second half. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It was clearly past his bedtime. By the time this game was over, you saw him slowly falling asleep on the bench. Dude's got 5 kids. He's constantly fighting wars in his own mind. We understand this. We get it. We know this. But yeah, Browns 11-5. Get that final win. Maybe of the season. We'll have to see how it goes this week. But they clinched the playoff spot. In spite of having started 4 different quarterbacks this year, I'm fairly certain. I know they started P.J. Walker, they started Dorian Thompson-Robinson, they started Flacco, and then obviously they started Deshaun Watson to start the season. So that's 4 right there that I can think of off the top of my head. They'll be starting Jeff Driscoll this coming week, so that'll be 5 over the course of the season, and Kevin Stefanski has led them to 11 wins. And oh, by the way, they've done most of this without probably the best running back in the entire NFL, Nick Chubb. So, yeah, my coach of the year right there, Kevin Stefanski. No bias there whatsoever. I mean, he left the Vikings a long time ago, so there's not any bias left to be had. But that's just incredible. To have 11 wins with the amount of quarterback turnover that they have is nothing short of remarkable. And in that division, too, with just the tough teams that they have to play every single week, I still don't think that there is a losing team in that division unless the Bengals, having slid over the last several weeks, ended up, getting below 500. Either way, it's a hell of a division right now. So all the credit in the world of the Browns. I think Kevin Stefanski should be that coach of the year, just based on the criteria they usually give that award out on. And I said it last week, the most dangerous team in the AFC to face right now. Well, outside of the Bills, probably the most dangerous team to face in the AFC, and they are specifically equipped to go up against a team like the Ravens, just based on that divisional familiarity. The Browns, maybe not quite as sexy and flashy of a dark horse pick as the Bills, but they could be the team that just absolutely upends the apple cart and then sends fruit spilling all over the road, proverbially in the AFC. That'll be a team to watch here going forward, especially with Joe Flacco slinging the football down there in Cleveland. Either way, let's keep it moving from there. The Browns are sitting basically everyone in this final game of the season. And yeah, we'll get to the story about that in just a second because my dumbass is betting on them. Don't ask me why. It's a tough slate this week. I'll just say that it is a tough slate of games to pick. I only got 3 picks this week. You already got one of them. 2 more at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. The most controversial final result of this week: the Lions went over to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and this thing was neck and neck all the way. Dak Prescott had a huge day. I mean, CeeDee Lamb had a historic day. I mean, not necessarily as far as yards in a game, but 13 receptions, 227 yards, and a touchdown. He broke the Cowboys record for receptions and receiving yards in a season, and he did it in 16 games, so no need to put an asterisk on that. That is a bona fide record that CeeDee Lamb hit in that 16th game of the season, and it almost wasn't enough. The Lions got right down the field at the end of this game with just a little bit of time left on the clock. They get the touchdown. And appears, and Dan Campbell, no hesitation whatsoever. He's an aggressive coach. He'll be aggressive till the day he dies. That's why we love him so much. He lines up for a 2-point conversion. They do a little bit of trickeration. It ends up being Taylor Decker, left tackle. He is, supposedly reporting as eligible. We'll get to that there in just a second. He leaks out of the formation. Defense is all befuddled. They don't see Taylor Decker there. Goff hits Decker for what we think is the go-ahead 2-point conversion. Absolute pandemonium. The Lions would have escaped with a win. Would have been 12-4 on the season if they get that win, but not so fast. It's still not entirely clear what ended up happening. There were 2 offensive linemen that went directly to the head referee, Brad Allen, before the snap on the 2-point conversion. It was, I believe, number 70. I think it's Joe Tipman. I think it's Tipman, number 70. He went to the official, and Taylor Decker went to the official. I know Taylor Decker definitely, his purpose there was to report as eligible. And I think 70, I don't know what he was doing there because he didn't go out on a route. But I think since he was technically lining up on the end of the line in the backfield, I think he also had to report as eligible. So either way, they were both over there. You assume you're all good in that situation. Something apparently was lost in translation because Brad Allen threw the flag for illegal touching of a forward pass because he did not apparently hear that Taylor Decker reported as eligible pre-snap there, even though clearly you go back on the video and you ask basically everyone on the Detroit side, he definitely reported as eligible. It's just a matter of whether Brad Allen comprehended that or not, or if he heard that or not, which obviously he didn't. Just a massive mess up by the officials there, and God bless the Lions' hearts, man. There was a couple different penalties, pre-snap or whatever, offside penalty, whatever they happened to be after that. And probably like 3 different times the Lions, they line up to go for it at the 7. They line up to go for it again at the 2. They just kept on lining up to go for it at the end of that one. Ultimately, the Cowboys held firm on the other attempts at the 2-point conversion, and the Cowboys escaped with a win, 20-19. And I would assume Jerry Jones is sending a nice bottle of Johnny Walker to Brad Allen's house at some point this week because, hey, that's a W for the refs right there, man. They absolutely lost that game for the Lions and won that game for the Cowboys. There was some stuff trickling out this week about maybe Brad Allen's crew would be removed from the playoffs or officiating, big-time games like that. But they were also put on a primetime game between the Ravens and the Steelers this coming week on Saturday. So, I don't know, a couple mixed signals there to say the least. They held firm on their stance. The Lions obviously held firm on their own stance. It's just another... the refs, I don't talk about it a whole lot on this one because I think, blaming the refs for your lack of success is just an all-time loser move for the most part. But this time, it was very clearly a mess up by the refs. And yes, there is an argument to be made that, hey, it was an obviously confusing thing. You're playing around with the eligible receivers and whatnot, and part of that risk you run is possibly confusing the officials too. I get all of that, but the dude just has to understand. He has to know. And apparently Dan Campbell came to the officiating crew before the game, which is fairly common practice from what I understand. He came to the official before the game, drew up the play, explained it beforehand what was going to happen. Then they get into that situation, and then Brad Allen just, whatever. Flag, didn't report as eligible, even though Taylor Decker clearly went up to the official beforehand. It's another black eye on the officiating in a season that's been a long year for bad officiating in the NFL right now. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, just make the officials full-time employees, for God's sake. give them benefits, give them a development program, give them lots of reps outside of the NFL sphere. The product at the reffing level has just it's degraded just consistently for years and years now, as more of those refs, the Gene Sterators, the John Perrys of the world, all of them have just transitioned off the field. The very best refs in the entire game have transitioned off the field to make oodles and oodles of cash, not being on the field and not actually reffing games, but being ref consultants in announcing booths. It's just, you're seeing terrible results as it goes on. You still got a couple good ones out there. There's always going to be some quality officials out there, some quality refs. There are a few that do a really good job, but for the first time in quite a while, you could say there's a majority of referee crews, officiating crews, that are just not doing a very good job, not really doing a consistent job either. And it's hurting the game. No two ways about it. It's hurting the game. Not to mention the dumbass rules that you keep trying to implement, that you being the NFL keep trying to implement, that are just, trying to legislate all physicality and all fun out of the game, fining players obscene amounts of money for routine football plays. Never mind all of that. You're also having officials that can't consistently perform the job properly, and it is a hard job, but even more reason to pay these guys a full-time salary, give them a pay bump, give them more investment into the product. They're just going the full soulless capitalist route of cut costs at all cut expenses at all costs. Probably what I was going for there. Cut expenses. If you cut the expenses and you change nothing else, your profit margins go up. But you know what else happens? You slowly degrade over time as far as the quality of your products. You can look at it in basically every industry where a finance guy took over as CEO. He quote unquote gets leaner and trims out inefficiencies to ultimately, make the product taste relatively the same if you're talking about food products, and then, ultimately just, charging the same price. So profit margins are better, but the customers are the ones that end up suffering at the end of it. Right now, we're seeing that no clearer are we seeing that than with the officials. They're making all this money as the NFL, just making money hand over fist, profits on profits on profits. When are they going to invest some of those profits into the officiating, into the product? They say that they invest money into the product, but I've really not seen a whole lot of just tangible evidence of that. They could put their money where their mouth is by paying the officials, making them full-time employees, investing in the development, into the pipeline of officiating, instead of just getting these guys that 5 days a week are just lawyers, or a teacher at a middle school or something like that. Then on their weekends, like, okay, I guess I'll go to my side job as an NFL referee. It makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. Just, yeah, I'll say it till I get blue and fall over, possibly dying or dead. Just pay these guys and invest in their development. Otherwise, it's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse, and it's going to become more and more of a black eye for the officials, and you're going to continue to have to defend terrible officiating week after week. It's just not a tenable situation, and it's only going to get worse until you invest more money in it. So there you are. That's where we're at right now. Let's keep it moving, though, shall we? The Bills, they escaped against the Patriots 27-21. The Zap Man had 3 interceptions. Not great. The Patriots are so god-awful right now. There's what else is there to say? The Bills, though, they are now 10-6. I believe they need a win this next week to ensure that they get a playoff spot there in the AFC. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's the way this goes. And I think if the Bills win this season finale versus the Dolphins, they actually win the AFC East, which would be awesome for me in my preseason predictions. I predicted the Bills to win this division. So selfishly, I would want that to happen. Also selfishly, because they have money on the game. on the spread would love the Bills to win that game, but we got one of the big matchups coming up this week. The final matchup of the week, I believe that's on Sunday night. That'll be played. NFL, they some things they do wrong, like the officiating, as far as drama and pageantry. Every single week 18, man, or every single final week of the year, they always end off the day with the game that has a win or go home atmosphere around it. That is exactly what we've got with the Bills and the Dolphins on Sunday night. That'll be an absolute dandy. More about that as we get to the end of this episode, I suppose. Bears just beat the piss out of the Falcons. What else is new? The Falcons are just a sad, sad football team. A sad, sad franchise that are just, making me sad for sure. I thought the Falcons would be so much better this year. They are such an abject disappointment, and I don't want to keep harping on that, but they have been just terrible. And you can basically boil it down to a couple things. One, just right off the bat, one of those things that you have control over at the end of the day. Really, all these things you have control over, but Arthur Smith with an abject inability to get his best players schemed up, touches. Bijan Robinson has just consistently disappeared for no apparent reason whatsoever. And am I a little bit salty because I'm a Bijan Robinson fantasy owner? Yeah, a little bit. There's a little bit of bias that's going into this disappointment here. But also, it's not just him. It's Drake London, it's Kyle Pitts. It's the entire offensive skill group, basically. Bijan Robinson included. They've all been inconsistent at best when it comes to touches, and some of that has to do with the quarterback. But a lot of it, the offensive play caller, the head coach there, Arthur Smith, has got to have a lot of blame laid at his feet, quite frankly. He's just he's not been very good or very consistent this year as far as drawing stuff up. It's certainly not compared to what he's been in the past over there. And I hope he keeps his job. I hope they give him an opportunity to get a quarterback in there. But at this point, I would certainly understand if the Atlanta Falcons decide to go in a different direction, because it's not worked this year. And they had the best roster in that NFC South, and they did jack shit with it. That's the cold, hard reality right there. And the second factor, I alluded to it there briefly, but didn't even explore the possibility of bringing in another quarterback this offseason. Sure, you brought in Taylor Heineke. Congratulations, the ice-cold Heineken started this game and was abjectly terrible, so that's going fantastically for you. They decided they're going to roll with Desmond Ridder, and I suppose I understood it at the time if you had a lot of confidence in him, but Lamar Jackson, and who knows if the Ravens would have even considered letting him out the door, but you didn't even explore the possibility of going in there, maybe making a contract offer for Lamar Jackson. Arthur Blank had some asinine statements about the longevity in the league, yada, 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 all that bullshit. You had the MVP this year, that's pretty much cemented at this point. You had the MVP just sitting there, waiting for someone to make a contract offer. Yes, it would have cost you 2 first-round picks, but people give up 2 first-round picks all the time for quarterbacks that have far less proven themselves than what Lamar Jackson has. And yes, you also have to pay a good amount of money there, but isn't that a burden that you want at the end of the day? Having a legit top 10 quarterback in the building, a guy that if Arthur Smith got Lamar Jackson, my God, cancel Christmas. That running game would be the best running game in the entire NFL. You'd have a guy that could consistently get the ball to your receivers and would not turn the ball over hand over fist like Heineke and Desmond Ridder have done this year. He was just sitting there. He was just sitting there waiting for someone to come out there and negotiate with them. And the Falcons actively decided not to. It makes absolutely no sense. Didn't once consider getting a quarterback in last year's draft either. It's a comedy of errors over there with Atlanta, and it's been that way for decades and decades at this point. Credit to the Bears, though. 7-9, man. They started the season 1-4, and they looked god-awful in that period. Still look like a laughingstock with Tyler Bagent at quarterback. Then all of a sudden, Justin Fields gets back in there, And the Bears are a legitimately solid football team. They have kicked it down the stretch in ways that I personally didn't expect to start the season. They've become a legitimately dangerous team down the stretch here. If they beat the Packers this coming week, they'll be 8-9 on the season. With all the momentum in the world going in the next season, they have locked in that number 1 overall pick, with the Panthers being as terrible as they are. Ooh, excuse me. So, I mean, Justin Fields is playing well too. Justin Fields has made this a legitimate decision now on whether you keep Justin Fields and build around him, or if you wheel and deal him and just get more get another quarterback at the number 1 overall pick. You got Caleb Williams just sitting there, so this is a legitimate decision. And I think DJ Moore, who had a hell of a game in this one, 159 and a touchdown, he voiced his support for Justin Fields, which that'll happen when he throws you the ball more than anyone else on the team. So, take that with a bit of a grain of salt, but also Justin Fields has been playing well down the stretch, and you're going to need a new offensive coordinator. Luke Getsy cannot stick around for another year, because this is the second straight year in a row where he's seemingly just forgotten that Justin Fields can run the ball to start the season. I mean, it's the damnedest thing. Last year he did this exact same thing, where trying to fit the square peg in the round hole of just make Justin Fields a pocket passer. He may never ever be a pocket passer, but what he is one of the most dynamic athletes at quarterback in the entire NFL, and a guy that can make plays if you get him on the move. I don't understand what Luke Getsy's mindset has been over the last few years to start, but seemingly down the stretch, when you get him into the right situations, he's gotten going. I don't think you can go for another round 3 of Luke Getsy shitting the bed to start the year, especially if you're Matt Eberflus, which, hey, you saved your job for this season. Congratulations to you. If you don't get the offensive coordinator right, and you don't get the quarterback right, you will be out of a job next season. I can assure you of that. I think he understands that too. So I don't think Luke Getsy's going to be coming back for the Bears. But I mean, you gotta love, if you're a Bears fan, I mean, fuck you first and foremost. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, hey, you've got to be excited about what's coming down the pipe for you. This is a good operation that Ryan Poles is building down there. He's been getting a little bit of flack for some of the moves he's made, but I'm definitely of the mindset that if it all works out in your favor, if you get good players as a result, I mean, you can sustain some bad moves here and there, like the Chase Claypool trade, indefensible, one of the worst trades of last season. Now he's just languishing away down there in Miami, and in a place that you would expect could be one of the only ones to actually use his talents down there. Just a bad player ultimately. I mean, just it is what it is there. But outside of that, I mean, picking up Montez Sweat, you got some flack for that, but boys and girls, you give up a second round pick and you get a number 1 pass rusher, a guy that you can consistently rely on to get you pressures on the quarterback. And sure, you pay him a good amount of money to do so, but that's worth a second round pick in the cap space all day, especially since the Bears have a ginormous amount of cap space going forward too. It's going to be a lot like it was last season as far as cap space for the Bears. They're going to be big spenders again, I would imagine, coming forward here. So yeah, Ryan Poles, don't listen to what some of the nerds on television will tell you. He's doing a really good job with the Bears right now, and it pains me to say, because boy, do I wish he had no idea what he was doing. But I'm horrified that he may in fact have some inclination of how to run a football team there with the Bears. So yeah, that's going to be a team to watch going forward. They got a big decision draft time coming up that will kind of dictate what the next 5 years are going to be, quite frankly. So this is a big offseason for the Bears, man. I think they are right on the cusp of making a playoff push, I would think, going into next season. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun to watch if you're not a Vikings fan or any other NFC North fan, I suppose. It's getting hot in the NFC North, though. You're just getting hot in the NFC North. We'll keep it moving from there. Colts got out a win versus the Raiders, 23-20. Aiden O'Connell after throwing for basically no yards. I mean, certainly 0 yards in the second half versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and still winning that game. He throws for 299, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and they lose. So maybe the formula for the Raiders winning is for Aiden O'Connell to never pass the ball ever. I'm no rocket scientist, but you know what? It seems to be correlation causation here. So take some of that into account, I suppose. Gutsy win for the Colts, though. They're 9-7. They go into a do-or-die game with their division rival Texans this coming week. Everything on the line. Winner goes to the playoffs. Loser is sitting on the couch watching that first round. That's going to be an absolute dandy coming up, man. I cannot wait to watch that one. The consequential matchups are few and far between outside of draft position stuff this upcoming weekend. So that's going to be must-watch television there. I cannot wait to watch that one. I believe that one is in Indianapolis as well. So that's home field advantage for the Colts. We'll see if it ends up paying off for him. Devontae Adams, 13 receptions, 126 yards, by the way. 2 touchdowns, too. Both of Aiden O'Connell's touchdown passes. Dude was balling. Still one of the best receivers in the entire NFL. Can't forget that. Rams, they also survive 126-25 over the Giants. Giants have been feisty here down the stretch, man. I'll tell you what. Brian Daboll, it's been a abjectly terrible season. There's no two ways around it. It's not been good at all there for New York, but they have shown some fight here down the stretch to where I think he has saved everyone's job in New York to this point. This is the latest one in that storyline. Tyrod Taylor, probably the guy that should have been starting all along over to Tommy DeVito once he got back from IR. Now the Giants have righted that wrong. 319 yards, a touchdown, interception. Good enough to keep you in a game in most circumstances. He got him right there, right on the cusp of this. But the Rams, they come out of there with a win, 26-25. Kyren Williams, 3 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, 118 yards on 5 receptions. I mean, they absolutely have nailed the last 2 drafts with the mid-round picks. Kyren Williams is a mid-round pick. Puka Nacua, mid-round pick as well. Just absolute banger after banger after banger. Les Snead has been in his bag with player evaluation, which, I mean, fuck them picks when you're trying to win right now, but the dude he's a multiple GM, man. He's not just trying to go out there and get free agents and trade for players like a madman. He says fuck them picks, but when you're as good with them as he has been, that's, hey, why fuck them picks at all? Why not just take all the picks you can? That's a lot of cheap labor you're getting there. Not to talk like a boss, but hey, he is the boss, so that's the one thing you want if it's an NFL GM, right? Cheap labor. Cheap labor is what you want at the end of the day. So yeah, Rams do get the win. They're 9-7. They will be facing a bereft 49ers team. They're resting pretty much everybody. Sam Darnold will be starting. I assume guys like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Debo, Trent Williams. The big players will probably be out resting for that one because they clinched the number 1 seed. And the reason they clinched the number 1 seed, not only because they blew the Commanders out of the water, which we'll touch on here briefly in just a second, but the Cardinals went into Philadelphia, and you know what they did? They unzipped their pants, flopped out their manhood, and pissed right in the Eagles' Cheerios on their home field in Lincoln Financial Field. The Cardinals did not punt once. They get a win 35-31 over the Eagles. Man, Philadelphia is in shambles right now. Absolute shambles. Josina Anderson, after this game, made some veiled allusions to obviously there is one dead man walking as far as the coaches are concerned in the NFC East, that being Ron Rivera. Not a chance he comes back as the head coach, not a snowball's chance in hell. But there is a second that some people may find surprising, and it's probably not Mike McCarthy, probably not Brian Daboll after what's happened over the course of this year. So that leaves one man who has maybe not made the greatest coordinator hires this last year after losing both of his coordinators to head coaching positions. Seems like just maybe Nick Sirianni's in the hot seat. I think that'd be a massive overreaction to get rid of Nick Sirianni right off the bat here after just one bad year, after he went to the Super Bowl last season, and they're still 11-5. I mean, they're not playing well down the stretch here, but they are still 11-5, so that would be an overreaction. But that's illustrative of just how bad things have gotten in Philadelphia right now. I mean, after being top 10 across the board in basically every major statistical category, both offensively and defensively, down the stretch here, they have just disintegrated before our very eyes. They started 10-1. They are 1-4 since starting, and the only win they had was against Tommy Cutlets and a bad Giants team. So it's just been suck after suck after suck. This latest one coming against the Cardinals, who are a now 4-12 team. They were 3-12 coming into this week. Man, things are just shambolic for the Eagles at the moment. It is just, I mean, the offense has been clunky. The defense has been a sieve. And, adding Matt Patricia in there as the play caller has not helped that situation. It feels like they're going to be having a fresh slate of coordinators once again this coming off season. Not for good reasons this time of them getting hired away, for bad reasons because they've underperformed so badly. You would expect at the very least Sean Desai had the play calling duties taken away from him on defense. Most of the staff is probably gone on that side of the ball. Brian Johnson, probably a little bit. That one's up in the air, but the offense has just been so bad here recently. It feels like wholesale changes are coming. The Eagles, boy, after how they started the year, to see it unravel like this is a little bit shocking, quite frankly, but they have been just so awful. They're going to get into the playoffs. I think they clinched a playoff spot a while ago, actually, but man, they have been just putrid to watch, quite frankly. Putrid to watch here of recent, and it feels like one of those teams in the NFC is going to get them. I think the Cowboys at this point, do the Eagles play the Cowboys this week? I think they do. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like I'm probably wrong on that. But either way, doesn't feel like the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. And if they don't, they're going to be going on the road to someone in the first round. Not a good, not a good recipe for success when it's all said and done. Probably going on the road to maybe it's the Cowboys again. That could end up being the case. Or if it's not the Cowboys, they'd probably be the highest rated a wild card team. So it's whoever wins the NFC South pretty much. And you would think they'd win that, but you'd also think they'd win against the Cardinals too. So yeah, this is just all bad. The vibes are so bad around Philadelphia right now. It is hard to put into words. Shout out to Kyler Murray, though. 3 touchdowns and interception in this one. It was a bad interception, don't get me wrong, but hey, he's been dynamic so far this year. I think the Cardinals should be feeling just fine about who they've got in the building at quarterback, and they are very much open for business at that whatever pick they end up getting. They keep falling in the draft order, man. They've been doing too well here down the stretch. Still a top 5 pick, and they're still very much open for business in a very quarterback-heavy draft. So I would imagine they're going to get a king's ransom for whatever pick they end up being at the top of this draft. So that'd be interesting. Monty Ossenfort getting the cupboard loaded up with draft picks. That's all you can really do when you're in a rebuild mode like this. But they've got the hardest one to get, I think, in quarterback. Probably just build out that receiving core, build out that offensive line. I'm interested to see what they end up doing in the draft. But, not so much for this year, but going forward, you got to feel pretty good about where the Cardinals are as far as a team-building perspective. They're still probably another 2 years away from actually making a playoff push. But they're putting themselves in good position to make some solid draft moves coming up here. So that's all you can really ask for. They took over. Monty Ossenfort and the boys took over a god-awful situation. It looks like you got a good head coach, and you've still got, you have confirmed that you have the quarterback that you want to keep in the building in Kyler Murray. So you got some stuff to build off of. You got some stuff to build off of, if nothing else. no one wants to win the NFC East, man, or NFC South, man. The Saints get the win over the Buccaneers on the road, 23-13. Baker Mayfield, you know what? Sometimes he has Baker Mayfield games, and this is one of them. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was a Saints win, so was it pretty? No, but it was a win nonetheless. They win 23-13. They're now 8-8 going into the final week of the season. I believe they're playing the Falcons, so who knows? Who knows? I don't really know what the implications are or how any of these teams end up winning the NFC South, but man, that division never fails to be just the saddest cripple fight in all the NFL, quite frankly. And that's about all I have to say about that. One of these teams, either the Falcons, the Saints, or the Buccaneers, will host a playoff game. That's beautiful right there. That's just NFL football there for you. 49ers, they beat the piss out of the Commanders as expected, 27-10. They lock up the number 1 seed with the Eagles getting the loss. So there you have it. They're 12-4. They're resting everybody in week 18, with the Rams seemingly in a position where they need to win to get in. I think they probably need some help as well, but I think they're in a win to get in sort of situation as well. So seems like a little bit of well, actually, come to think of it, they are not in a win to get in situation because they've already clinched a playoff spot, and I know that because they're not starting Matt Stafford or Aaron Donald or like literally anyone pretty much this week. And I guess they're playing the Cardinals, aren't they? They're not playing the 49ers. I don't know who the 49ers play, quite frankly. But yeah, the Rams aren't starting anyone, so I assume they clinched a playoff spot already, which shows here on the headline. They did, in fact, clinch a playoff berth. So yeah, it's Carson Wentz starting at quarterback. All of the major starters are sitting pretty much in anticipation for the playoffs. So yeah, we'll see on that one. Basically, the entirety of the NFC West is just sitting down at this point, unless you are the Seattle Seahawks or the Arizona Cardinals, for that matter. That being said, Commanders are sad. Another sad team. The Jaguars shut out the Panthers 26-0. Yeah, this was a win that the Jaguars needed to have. They snapped a 4-game losing skid. They have put themselves on the doorstep of a playoff spot. The Jaguars, if they win this upcoming week, they win the AFC South, and they're 1 win away. 1 win away. We'll have to see how that works out for them. The real big story coming out of this game, still, Trevor Lawrence beat up as usual. What else is new? CJ Beathard was the one that took quarterback snaps in this game. I think Trevor Lawrence sat for this one, so there is that. We'll have to see what Trevor Lawrence does coming up this week. I would assume he makes a concerted effort, a concerted push to get back in the lineup. But that's not the story. The story coming out of this one was a team that scored 0 points and really wasn't about anything that happened on the field. It was about what happened in the stands. Some, Jaguars fan, which always known to be civilized human beings that are raised right at all times, no matter what, was talking some sort of ungodly shit to Panthers owner David Tepper. And you know what? David Tepper took so much exception to it that he threw his drink on the person and walked away. And I am coming to you here live with fresh reporting saying that the person who got the drink splashed on them, the Jacksonville Jaguars fan, has broken every limb in his body based on that drink being splashed on him. And I would assume he is going to be looking to sue. Jokes, obviously. That's basically, here's a life lesson for you folks. If a billionaire loses his cool on you and, say, throws literally anything at you, fake an injury. That's the time to fake an injury and, file a lawsuit. At the very worst, you get an out-of-court settlement for like 6 figures, and they just don't even bat an eye about it. And I know they don't even bat an eye about it because David Tepper got fined $300,000 by the league and then was just basically ho-hum. I still don't really apologize. I should have reacted differently, basically, is all he said in his quote-unquote apology. So, yeah, that's the state of the Panthers right now. They've got the Dan Snyder in waiting, it seems. He's got a couple more decades of just absolute suck to get to that point. But he's well on his way with the way he's comported himself thus far. Meddling nonstop, being bad at his job of being an owner, fostering a terrible work environment and terrible work culture there with the Panthers. I mean, for God's sake, the last guy they had in there was a racist sexist who just allegedly sexually assaulted people in the office, or at the very least was very inappropriate with female employees in the office, and he had a better work culture than what David Tepper has, if you believe that. So things are bad in Carolina. No two ways about it. Things are bad. Also, the Dan Snyder comparisons aren't just him being a piece of shit. It's also the fact that he started a practice facility in South Carolina. They couldn't quite get some funding together, so David Tepper said, yeah, I'm going to declare bankruptcy on that so I don't have to finish that project. It's little things in the community where you're slowly degrading the area around the team. That's classic Dan Snyder right there, baby. You get the whole community to hate you, not just for the team that you've built, but for the absolute cesspool of a business environment that you've created around the team. That's when you're really in Dan Snyder territory, and that is where David Tepper is creeping towards. So, yeah, good luck, Panthers fans. Good luck. It looks like you were in for a rough decade at the very least. I shudder to think of who the next head coach and GM will be for the Carolina Panthers, man. That's going to be a tough one. That is going to be a very, very tough one. Sorry, it's past 8 o'clock, so I'm a little tired. That might be the first yawn that I've had in quite some time on this podcast, but there you go. I'm a tired little boy, folks. I'm a tired little boy. Another game was billed as a big-time matchup here, but ultimately just ended up being a blowout. The Ravens win 56-19 over the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson, just dumped a can of kerosene all over the Dolphins defense and just whoosh, set it alight. Just whoosh, up in flames, that Dolphins defense. He went 18 of 21, 321 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. More touchdowns than incompletions. That is how you know you're absolutely balling your ass off. Also, shout out Zay Flowers, 3 receptions for 106 yards and a touchdown. This Baltimore squad is just unreal. It is fantastic. I believe I made allusion to it before, but Lamar Jackson has just been a revelation in this Todd Monken offense, and you didn't see it initially to start the season, but as he's gotten more acclimated to this offense, as the weapons have settled in a little bit more, as Zay Flowers has separated himself as that number one receiver, man, you have seen marked growth from Lamar Jackson and his play style. All it took was a normal pro offense for him to go into a passing offense even. Who would have thunk it? If you put a really solid quarterback into a passing offense, he will start flourishing. That's exactly what we're seeing from Lamar Jackson. They locked up the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. They're resting everybody this coming week, and they earned it. Injury news coming out of this one, and it's a devastating one for the Dolphins. They already lost Jalen Phillips early on in the season, not early on, but earlier in the season to a torn Achilles. He's done for the year. Now, late in a blowout, probably shouldn't have been in the game in the first place. Bradley Chubb, he tweaks his knee. That's an ACL. He is out for the season. And at this point, being so late in the year, that might affect the start of next season as well. Brutal way for this Dolphins defense to go. Now it's basically just Chase Winovich And I don't know where you're getting a pass rush from outside of Chase Winovich right now. They are so bereft of pass rushers. They were already kind of bereft of pass rushers with Bradley Chubb in there. Bradley Chubb was basically just going by himself. But really, without Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips in there now, man, it is going to be a tough row to hoe for the Miami Dolphins going forward right now. It is. I don't know how they're going to stop anyone. And you saw it this week versus the Ravens. Even with Bradley Chubb in there and Jalen Ramsey, all the guys, 56 points they gave up to the Baltimore Ravens, man. And I don't see it going a whole lot better going forward. And the Dolphins, they took a step forward this year, man. Make no mistake about it, but I think they hit a wall. And unfortunately, due to injuries, I don't see them really going far in the playoffs, man. I just don't know who they stop. I don't know who they stop. And if they lose to the Bills this upcoming week, they've lost the division. So I don't know, man. You're going to have to go on the road with that style of offense. Probably going to have to face off against, I don't know, whoever the low seed on the totem pole is for the AFC. Probably the Jaguars, so you're still staying down there in Florida. They could probably win that one, but get into the divisional round against a team like the Ravens again, maybe. Maybe face off against the Bills. I don't know. There's really not a good matchup for them in the second round, I would say. So it's tough to say, but I feel like the Dolphins are all but finished for this season. Let's keep it moving. Sorry, I keep looking at my phone that they're announcing the Pro Bowl and shit. So that's cool. Who cares? Let's see something about Danielle Hunter. Just Danielle Hunter and long snapper Andrew DePaulo are Pro Bowlers. Cool. Very cool. Very cool, I suppose. Love both of those guys. Hope Danielle Hunter gets all the money this offseason. Where was I, though? Yes. The Titans went on the road to the Texans, and the Texans broke Mike Vrabel's spirit. They get the win 26-3. C.J. Stroud back in there, and the Texans are right back to where they were the last time he was in there. Hopefully, he doesn't get another head injury. That was, that's tough to have a quarterback out for that long with a concussion protocol thing going on. That's tough. You hate to see that. It's scary to see a concussion linger for that long, quite frankly, and you hope that's not a recurring thing that happens for C.J. Stroud in his NFL career. But yeah, with him in there, they're just so good. They're so absolutely good. The runaway offensive rookie of the year, C.J. Stroud, and obviously that sets up a big-time win-or-go-home matchup with the almost at Baltimore Colts. What am I, in the 1940s right now? With the Indianapolis Colts coming up this week. That's going to be an absolute dandy. We will wait and see on that one. That should be, again, an absolute dandy. Steelers go on the road to the Seattle Seahawks, and they get a win. And at 9-7, they have once again clinched a winning season for the 18th year in a row for Mike Tomlin. Clap it up, boys and girls. We did it. We did it. Don't know how it happened. It looked a lot sketchy, very sketchy down the stretch with all the losses they were sustaining to really bad football teams. I mean, the Cardinals and the New England Patriots in back-to-back weeks was not fantastic in the very least. But you know what? Down the stretch, they got a hot hand in there with Mason Rudolph. George Pickens is playing out of his mind with Mason Rudolph in the game and really, really showing you all of that talent. That is the reason why he can get away with some of the effort stuff from time to time, because he is so explosive. The Steelers right now, man, they need some weird scenarios to happen to actually get into the playoffs, but a win this upcoming week against the Baltimore Ravens is a step in the right direction. The Ravens are going to be playing nobody pretty much. I think pretty much all of their major starters are going to be out. I know for sure that Tyler Huntley is going to be starting that game versus the Steelers this upcoming week, which is already a plus for him with that vaunted defense that the Steelers have for the most part. But man, it's once again, Mike Tomlin, not the problem there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, in a roundabout way, he is, because he simply cannot seem to find an offensive coordinator worth a damn over there. And, front office maybe, possibly, seemingly might have whiffed on Kenny Pickett at quarterback. kind of a stark indictment that he's not starting this upcoming week, even though he is healthy at this point. He's ready to come back off of that ankle injury. And if you're rolling with Mason Rudolph, not great at all. But yeah, right now Steelers 9-7. They could finish the season 10-7, maybe get a playoff spot at the end of the day. Mike Tomlin, man, he's an absolute wizard with anything you give him. He will take a box of nails, some chewed gum, and a couple what's the word I'm looking for? Wood shavings? Yeah, wood shavings. Give him some paper mache too. He'll make a palatial 3-story estate that is worth several $1 million out of it. That's how good of a coach that Mike Tomlin is. I hope that metaphor didn't confuse you at all, like it seemingly confused me right now. But that's the part of the show that we're at right now. Congrats to Mike Tomlin. You made me look smart heading into the season with considering that you would go 9-8. Hope you go 10-7 though. Quite frankly, hope you go 10-7, and that is also selfish. We'll get to that here in just a second. Chargers and the Broncos play one of the saddest matchups of the week. We got Easton Stick versus Jared Stidham, and the final score was, as you would imagine, Broncos get the win 16-9. Yeah, just two sad teams at the moment. One sadder than the other in the Chargers, but at least they have the quarterback of the future. The Broncos are currently trying to do some fuck shit financially to get Russell Wilson out the door and save $30 million along the way. So there you go. There's your analysis. My goodness, that's disgusting. I apologize for that. I don't really care though. Bengals at the Chiefs. Chiefs get the win 25-17. The Jake Browning hype has cooled precipitously since he yelled into the camera that the Vikings never should have cut him, which honestly, if Jake Browning was on the Vikings right now, he would probably be starting and holding down the starting spot. Unfortunately, we're going back to Nick Mullins this week, so yeah, that should tell you about how Sunday Night Football went. Yeah. The Chiefs get the win, though. They are 10-6 on the year. They clinched the AFC West, and that's another team where they ain't starting nobody this week. I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is starting. I know Patrick Mahomes isn't starting. It will be Blaine Gabbert in there at starting quarterback. I would assume all of the pertinent starters. Definitely Kelsey. He's been kind of banged up the whole year, so I would assume all of the starters will be sitting, quite frankly, and whoever they're playing should have quite an opportunity this upcoming week, so we'll see on that. And Bengals are 8-8, by the way, so there is not a single team under 500 in the AFC North once again this year. That's the vibe I had coming into the year, man. They are all really solid football teams over there. It is incredible how good the AFC North has been really over the last couple years, but this year in particular, even with the turnover at quarterback over there, it's been maybe the best division in all of football, quite frankly. They've been spectacular. Final game of the week, and you know what? Just rip off the Band-Aid, shall we? Jordan Love just, to a lesser degree, took a smaller can of gasoline, still poured it all over the Vikings defense, a la Lamar Jackson with the Dolphins defense. It was a smaller blaze, but the fire is still hot, no matter how big the blaze is, and that's exactly what Jordan Love did to the defense. He set them right on fire, the Vikings, in a way that really no team has done in the second half of the home stretch of the year. They zone ran the Vikings to death in this game. 33-10, the Packers go on the road and beat the Vikings. Jaron Hall, yeah, that we needed to find out, I suppose, but we have our answer. We have our answer. He's probably at the very best backup for us going forward, and he's a 5th-round pick, so that's okay. That's okay. Now we don't have to worry about the illusions of maybe having our future starter in 5 years on the roster. That's not happening anymore. That's simply not happening. We now know we need to draft a quarterback of the future coming up, which is good. It's good to have clarity like that. Unfortunately, the Vikings are now 7-9, and have little to no hope of making the playoffs. They're going to need a lot of help in order to get there. They're playing somebody this upcoming week just by default. I don't remember who they're playing off the top of my head, but it's the Lions they're playing. So yeah, that should be fun. Lions ain't going to be starting anybody, I don't think. So that should be good times. Good times, man. Yep. Also, shout out to Jordan Love. Shout out to him. He's been really good down the stretch of this year. He had a stretch there in the middle of the year where he played like absolute dog shit. But down the stretch, I definitely think the Packers have their quarterback of the future right now. Similar to Daniel Jones last year, I would say to Jordan Love, show me one more time. That's, not out of the question there. I think that if the Giants would have done that, they wouldn't be in the situation they're in right now, looking down the barrel of owing their quarterback like $100-some million over the next couple of years, and they're not really sure how good he is. But I think Jordan Love has played better than Daniel Jones did last year. So if they decided to extend him this offseason, I would understand it, I suppose. But Jordan Love has been really, really good. Very reminiscent, very, very reminiscent of what Aaron Rodgers did in his first year as a starter for the Green Bay Packers. I think they got another one there in Green Bay. And it's sickening that they've gone from Favre to Rodgers, now to seemingly another really quality starting quarterback in Jordan Love. It's just, it makes my skin crawl, quite frankly. But hey, maybe the Vikings can get someone this offseason. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's quite a situation down there. I kind of laid it out for y'all last week, but yeah, give me Michael Penix, baby. It doesn't feel like, especially if Washington ends up beating Michigan in the national championship game, it doesn't feel like he's going to drop all the way to where the Vikings are at any point in this draft. It feels like if they beat Michigan, he's probably going to be a top 5 pick at the end of the day. But you know what? I hope against all hope we've got assets to go up there and trade up with, say, the Cardinals, maybe the Bears if they're open for business, if we want to go all the way up and draft Caleb Williams or someone like that. I don't know. But if we get in position for him, boy, would I be happy to draft a guy like Michael Penix. I would love to have him in there, and I'd love to have Kirk Cousins back for us, say like, a 1-year, $35 million deal, maybe $30 million. Just kind of, probably get a little bit of a discount given that Kirk Cousins is coming off of that Achilles injury. I mean, hey, maybe you make it a fake 2-year deal with the second year being an avoidable year just so you can spread out that cap hit. I don't know, maybe. But let's go out there and draft our quarterback of the future. Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix. 2 guys I really want on my football team, quite frankly. With that, though, we are an hour and 6 minutes in this thing. We're doing all right. Doing all right on time. But real quick, let me just quickly look it up. Let's just go through some of the lines for this upcoming week, shall we? And I don't believe, I gotta check here real quick. Yeah, that line still hasn't moved for the Michigan Washington national title game from 4.5, so I'm staying the hell away from that. Maybe I'll move on it if we get some late line movement in either direction, but I don't like that hook. That hook scares the shit out of me at 4.5, so I'm staying the hell away from that one. I'll hope for a good game. How's about that? A cheer for a good game right now. But let's just go down the list here. No Thursday night game. We had our last one last week with the Jets and the Browns. So on Saturday, starting at 4:30, Steelers versus Ravens. Steelers are favored by -3.5 right now, and as it has become official that none of the starters are going to be starting, it's moving to 4 in a lot of places. So I would move on this quick. I bet the Steelers at -3.5 on my chosen sports book. It's still 3.5 at NGM right now, and they seem to be the last bastion. So move while you can. It's at 4 in most other places. Over under is 35.5 in a lot of places. You can get a 36 at PointsBet, and you get a 35 at DraftKings. Other than that, everywhere else is pretty much 35.5. That number is it's very low. I don't feel like there's going to be a terrible amount of scoring in this game though. So it's, Lean the under, I suppose. Whatever. Texans at the Colts. This should be a dandy on the final game of Saturday night. It is -1 in a lot of places. You can get a 1.5 in favor of the Texans, by the way, on FanDuel, points bets, and yeah, those are your two where you can get a 1.5. If you're looking to bet on the Colts, if you're looking to bet on the Texans, it's -1 literally everywhere else. I got no real great lean in that game. I think just based on which quarterback I trust more, I mean, hey, give me the Texans, I suppose. That's not going to be an official bet, though. I just think this should be a close game. Anything can happen, quite frankly. Anything can happen. Over/under is 47.5. I'd lean the over on that one. I think there's going to be some points scored, but could also be some puckered assholes here that could prevent some scoring. So over/unders in the NFL are always nebulous, to say the least. They're not quite as easy to predict as they are in college. So I'm staying away from that one. But I would lean the over. Put the dunce cap on me now. I bet this one earlier at +6, but the Browns, this was, I mean, not 5 minutes before the Browns officially announced that all of their starters were out. I bet the Browns at +6. It has moved an entire point to +7 now after that announcement. So yeah, I suppose we're just gonna say +7 for the purposes of this segment for y'all, since that would be the number you were getting. I guess we're just going to say +7 as far as the picks are concerned. I bet them at +6 though, so if they lose by 6, I get a push and y'all get a win. How's about that? Seems fair. Either way, we're betting on the Browns here at +7. Why? I just don't think very highly of the Bengals, I suppose. I don't think that they're going to win by a touchdown or more. I'll just put it to you that way. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have a great reason for this. This is why I don't have a whole lot of picks for this week. It's just a nebulous mess right now. So yeah, already got my 3 picks out there, I suppose. I already got the Bills -3, the Browns at +7, and the Pittsburgh Steelers at -3.5. Those are the 3 picks right now, but let's just go through the rest of the slate real quick. Over/under is 37.5, by the way, on that one. I would probably bet the under. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of scoring in that one. Buccaneers versus Panthers. Bucks are favored by 4.5 pretty much across the board. I would certainly lean the Bucks. I would certainly lean the Bucks. This is a game they've got to have, so I would lean them. Not going to bet that, though, I don't think, unless I just do it with my own hard-earned money, but I don't feel strong enough about the Buccaneers to go out here and bet that. So I'm going to leave that where it is. Over/under is 37.5 in most places. If you're looking to bet the under, there is a 38 at PointsBet at the moment. Jets at the Patriots. It is, it's mostly -1.5 in favor of the Patriots. You get a plus or a -2, you get a +2 at DraftKings. Everywhere else is 1.5. Sad team, sad matchup. I would lean the Patriots though, just because Bill Belichick is there. Over/under is 30.5, and you know what? I might still lean the under. This is just a sad matchup of offenses and really solid defenses. So good luck to anyone that has to just pour acid on their eyes and watch that one. Vikings versus Lions. Lions are favored by 3.5 across the board pretty much. Honestly, I would lean the Lions here. I'm not going to bet that because I'm a homeboy. I'm a homeboy and I love my team. I will go down with this ship, I swear to God. And if we win, I'll be just as happy. I'm not like one of those losers that's going to be rooting for the Vikings to lose this week. That being said, if we lose, I won't be upset because it means we may or may not have a top 10 pick. Either way, I'm in just that perfect level of mid where I'm happy no matter what happens. If we lose, we get better draft position. If we win, we win. Winning is fun. So that's where I'm at right now. It's all gravy right now. This is how I cope with my team not being very good. Over/under is 45.5 in most places. You get a 46 at PointsBet if you're trying to bet the under. I bet the over, though. Last time these two teams matched up and Nick Mullins was the starter, who will be the starter this time around, we had an offensive explosion in this game. So, yeah, I would lean the over at 45.5. I think that's a good number for what it is. Jaguars at the Titans. Jags minus 5.5 in a gots-to-have-it sort of game. All the Titans have left, though, is pissing in Cheerios. And Mike Vrabel, I don't know if y'all saw that press conference he had this week about just, I don't know who Gentry is, but my God, Gentry did not have a great day at the office in this one. Losing sucks, Gentry. That's what it is. Losing sucks. And yeah, it came back around to him. Yeah, it fucking sucks. Oh, man, I love Mike. I would run through a wall for Mike Vrabel. That poor reporter at the end of the day, he took the brunt of that one. That speech made me love Mike Vrabel so goddamn much, though, man. I think he's going to find a way to cover this spread. I don't know if they win, but 5.5 just feels like too damn much for this Titans team right now. I got a feeling. Got a feeling that they're going to keep it close. I don't know how, but this feels like a Mike Vrabel special coming up right now. 39.5 in a lot of places. Well, basically just FanDuel and DraftKings. It's 40 everywhere else, looks like. So yeah, no great lean on the over/under there. What in the goddamn hell did I just do? I somehow traveled back through time in my desktop here. What else is new? I'm a fucking time traveler. What else we got? Falcons, Saints. The Saints were a -3. Staying the hell away from that one. Weird stuff happens in this matchup, man. Same sort of deal with the Buccaneers and the Saints. It's a rivalry where it's going to be a rock fight basically every time, and you don't know who's going to win. It should be a fun one, though. 42.5 in some places. FanDuel, Caesars 42 everywhere else. I would probably lean the under there. It's just not a matchup that's very conducive to scoring. Cowboys favored by 13 on the road at the Commanders. You can get a 13.5 at FanDuel. They're the only 13.5 right now. It looks like they're going to move here soon based on the juice on that 13.5. So if for some weird masochistic reason you're trying to bet on the Commanders, that's probably the place you want to go. I'm staying away from this one, though, just because the Cowboys are terrible on the road. And even if the Commanders are terrible, Cowboys still terrible on the road. Over/under is 46 in most places. You get a 45.5 if you're looking to bet the over. That would probably be my lean. I feel like the Commanders are going to score just enough to hit the over, and the Cowboys are probably going to score at will, quite frankly. So you have that. Chiefs versus the Chargers. Chargers are now favored by 3.5 in most places. PointsBet has moved to 4, and they're the only ones that are offering a 4 right now. So I will die in hell before I bet on the Chargers again. So yeah, staying the hell away from that one. I suppose that would be the lean. I don't know. Over/under is 35 across the board. Definitely lean the under on that one. Definitely lean the under. Ooh, excuse me. Many excuses. My goodness. Broncos are at the Raiders. Big time, well, not big time, but divisional matchup there between two not very good to average quarterbacks there in Aiden O'Connell and Jared Stidham. It's -2.5 in most places. You get a 3 at DraftKings, PointsBet, and Rivers. You get a 3 as well if you're looking to bet on the Broncos. I would definitely lean the Raiders in this one. I feel like at home, to end off the season, the team really wants, Devontae Adams came out in a press conference today and, basically just effusively said, I want Antonio Pierce to be the head coach full-time going forward. The entire locker room feels the same way. I think the Raiders are going to play their ass off for the guy to get a head coaching job there. I think with that, kind of talking myself into the Raiders here as far as an actual pick. I'll stay away from actually picking them. Probably going to bet my own hard-earned money on that one, but I'll stay away from the official pick on that one. I'll stick with the 3 that I've got. But I feel it's a very strong lean to the Raiders. I'll put it that way. Very strong lean towards the Raiders. Over-under is 38 in most places. You get a 37.5 at FanDuel at the moment. You'd be hard-pressed to bet the over in this one. I'll just put it that way. That doesn't feel like there's going to be a matchup conducive to scoring. I guess the Rams are at the 49ers this week, huh? I was right in the first place. No one's going to be starting in this game. It's just going to be basically a preseason matchup. This is the 4th game of the preseason right now, or 3rd game. There's only 3 games in the preseason now, thank God. But yeah, this is going to be a legit preseason matchup. You have got Sam Darnold facing off against Carson Wentz. Who cares what happens in this game? It's -4 in most places. Points bets of 4.5. If you're betting on this game, you're a sicko. No two ways about it. You're an absolute sicko. 41 in most places on the over-under. It's 41.5 at FanDuel. Probably lean the under, quite frankly. I probably lean the under. This is probably not going to be a bit of a disjointed sort of effort on offense. Again, think preseason. That's probably what we're going to be looking at here. If you're betting on that game, in the words of Michael Jordan, stop it. Get some help. Eagles at the Giants in not the final. They got a lot of 4 o'clock games this week for whatever reason. So, yeah, I don't know. Eagles at the Giants. It's a pretty good range of numbers, actually. It's all over the place, which is why I was kind of hard for words there. It's still +5.5 for the Giants at FanDuel. But you can also get as low as 4.5 at MGM if you're looking to bet on the Eagles here. So, just shop around pretty much. That's the moral of the story. I would definitely lean the Giants in this one. The Eagles have just been playing so badly. Tyrod Taylor starting at quarterback is going to be a market improvement over Tommy DeVito at quarterback the last time these teams played. I just feel like, I don't know if the Giants are going to win this game. I think they keep it close. I think they keep it within a field goal in this game. So I would definitely lean the Giants in this matchup. Over-unders 42 in most places, 41.5 at FanDuel. I would probably lean the over, but it's just a lean. Like I said, I don't like betting over-unders in the NFL, quite frankly. Bears at the Packers. Packers favored by 3 pretty much across the board. This is probably going to be a really good matchup, quite frankly. The Bears are playing their asses off recently, and the Packers have really turned it on down the stretch as well. Slight lean to the Packers, but only slight. I think this is going to be a really solid game in the 4 o'clock slot. I hope this is the game that's on TV, quite frankly, that I get to watch, just because, house intrigue and whatnot. It should be a fun matchup in the NFC North, though. This is going to be a real test of how good the Bears are, quite frankly, and I think they're a really solid football team, so looking forward to that one. Over-under, pretty good range of numbers here. It's 44 in most places, but you get a 43.5 at PointsBet and a 44.5 at FanDuel at the moment. Joe Barry's defense. Lean the over, baby. Lean the over. That's where I'm at right now. Justin Fields versus Joe Barry's defense. Can't stop a running quarterback to save his life. Starting to talk myself into the Bears in this one, actually. But lean the over. Lean the over at 44.5. Seahawks at the Cardinals. 2.5 in most places in favor of the Seahawks. It is 3 at Caesars. Shit, I'm leaning the Cardinals, man. They've been playing pretty good down the stretch here. I mean, they haven't been winning a whole lot of games, but they've been feisty to say the least. So yeah, give me the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals in this one. Probably not an official bet, but I would definitely lean the Cardinals. I like Kyler Murray. I like Jonathan Gannon. I like what they're starting to build there. They're a bad football team, but they're a feisty football team, which is about all you can ask for from a bad roster. 47.5 in most places on the total. Yet 48 at DraftKings and PointsBet. And probably lean the over. Neither of these defenses are particularly good. And we saw last week both of these teams, I think, kind of obliterated the over in their individual matchups. But yeah, over 47.5. Give me that. Give me that. Bills versus Dolphins. We already went over this one last time. I think not having the pass rush for the Dolphins is going to be a huge detriment to them. I think the Bills are going to run up and down the field, quite frankly. I think the Bills win. I think they cover, and I feel that's my strongest feel on a pick this week, quite frankly. So yeah, I love the Bills in this game. Over under is 49.5. I would lean the over, but we'll see. We'll see what the Dolphins are able to do. They have shown a startling propensity to struggle against solid defenses. It seems like they run up the score against bad defenses, but especially Daquan Jones is back off of the IR. He's back in the lineup. They're starting to get some of those players back that they were missing in the doldrums of the year of the Bills. We'll see. I would lean the over, but I'm not going to be putting any of my hard-earned money on that for damn sure. And there you go. There's the Week 18 slate. We will know what the playoff picture looks like when we are done, folks. So, with that, thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. We do this thing twice a week on varying days of the week. It'll probably be another what is it? Wednesday, Thursday setup next week, just waiting on the results of the national title game. Or maybe I'll switch around and do the NFL first next time. We'll see how it all works out. 2 episodes next week, though, once again. So I'll look forward to that. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're listening to it. Any of those old platforms you happen to be on, just go ahead and hit subscribe. Maybe share with a friend. Maybe grow this thing. Hasn't really grown in a little bit, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm fine with literally nobody listening to this thing because I enjoy doing it still. So, outside of that, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Caleb Verzek. Link will be down in the description for that. If you want to contact me, probably just shoot me a DM, but you can also go to the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That's also down in the description as well. So yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got zero zip zilch, not a clue what I am talking about. However, one thing I learned over the course of this past week, technically, you can have 2 snowflakes that are exactly alike. However, estimates have put the number of possible unique snowflake configurations at 10 to the 158th power, or 1 with 158 zeros after it, which is vastly larger than the number of atoms in the entire universe. So, for all intents and purposes, the saying, no 2 snowflakes are alike, is true. Not technically true, but pretty much true. With that said, you'll have a good weekend, folks. Enjoy the football.